Happy Monday. It's Erica Robinson back again from In the Company of Cards, both here and on Substack. The author of The Language of Lenormand, available everywhere, as they say, and also the author of Erica's Lenormand of Hope. And I'll be using the cards from that deck today to read. And I have a bunch of reader questions. People who have been following me so far. I really appreciate that. Appreciate all of the likes and the shares and the subscribes. Please hit that like button if you would. So I wanted to look, I had about maybe 4 or 5 viewer questions, and then I have a couple of questions on my own, that I'd like to look at. And I guess I'll save those for last. So a question that I got from Nancy is, what is Liz Cheney's political future? What does that future look like? So if you recall, Liz Cheney, she of the January 6th committee, the Republican, who is not a fan of 45. She is from Wyoming, and she lost her seat because she was not a fan of 45. And she's currently a visiting professor, I guess, at UVA, University of Virginia. I don't think that she's going to, I mean, visiting professor, that's a temporary position. So that's not the position that she's going to hold the rest of her life. And the question is, what is her political future? So again, here's my deck, the Erica's Lenormand of Hope. I'm cutting the deck into 3. And this time I'm going to look for the card that represents Liz Cheney. Of course, when you see what the card is, you'll see why I say she might be scandalized that would be the card representing her, but oh well. So this is the card for Liz Cheney, the older woman. So that's going to be in the middle. I'm taking the 2 cards that precede her in the deck and putting them to the left of her, and then the 2 cards that came after will go to the right. So what is her political future in this moment? How does she see it right now for how she'll move forward, if she will at all? So we have the coffin, we have the bear, we have her in the middle, we have the book, and we have the older man. So let's look at these one by one and see what they have to say about Liz Cheney's political trajectory. Well, first thing is coffin. Now, as I always say, nobody likes a coffin, but this is, in this particular 5 card, I think it's saying a couple of things. One is that in terms of the Republican Party as it is constructed now, she's dead. She's dead to them, as they say. On the other hand, the coffin is also the card of transformation. Why would that be? Because in order for something to become something else, it has to first cease being the thing that it was. So this makes me think that she is looking at creating something brand new. It maybe won't be called it won't be called the Republican Party. It probably won't be called the new Republican Party. I don't know what it'll be called. But I think she's going to start something new, try to transform the party into what she thinks it should be. I think she sees herself being at the vanguard of this, at the head of this. So her political future is not, in fact, dead. It's dead in what is now currently called the Republican Party, but she will rise again, and she will be a boss, a mover and shaker in whatever this new thing is. The center card, of course, is Liz Cheney herself. And then we have the book and the older man. Now, this tells me that she really doesn't know exactly how this will shake out, because the book is about things that are hidden, things that we just don't know yet. And I think that's the case for her. I think she's concentrating on her teaching. I think she is observing this election cycle very closely, but I don't think she knows yet what form this new party will take. You know, will everyone who is an old style Republican and all the independents, will they go the way of Harris? And if they do, how can she win them towards her? Right? And they may not belong to 45 anymore, but how can she win them towards her? I don't think she knows. And we have at the end of the line the older man, which is very interesting to me. You know, by the time she's able to get something off the ground and transform the Republican Party into the party of her dreams, she will be a lot older. She will be a lot more seasoned, and she will have, I think, amassed a lot of goodwill. Listen, let's not make any mistakes about who Liz Cheney is. She voted with Trump more than she did against him. She didn't care for the January 6th thing, but she's still an arch conservative, right? So will she be able to sort of cast herself in the mold of someone who is safe and trustworthy and means the country good? Holding those beliefs, we'll have to see. That's what she doesn't know. You know, this is the card for a leader, a boss. What kind of leader will she be? What stances will she take? Will she shift on any of her stances? Because right now, they're all the same as they were before, except she doesn't like Trump. Right? Will people have moved past her? She doesn't know. So she is laying low, keeping an ear to the ground, but definitely has the intention of rising again from the ashes as a boss of whatever the new party is that she will be at the vanguard of constructing moving forward. Okay, so that's what I see on Liz Cheney. The next question is about the Secret Service. And this is by a viewer named E.O. Wingfield. And they just want, you know, they just asked, you know, what's up with the Secret Service? Are they a good witch or are they a bad witch? Uh, hard to know. Hard to know. So this is an organization, I'm trying, but it's also a governmental organization. I'm gonna ask the cards, what is the buzz going on in the Secret Service amongst the Secret Service agents, right? The rank and file. Not so much what's the party line, but what do the rank and file Secret Service people talk about, think about? What do they want moving forward? So again, I shuffled, cut the deck into three, and I'm going to pull 5 cards, but this time, the card that I'm going to use for the Secret Service might sound weird, but I'll explain why I'm picking it as soon as it pops up. And here it is. I'm going to use the birds because the birds is the card for talking, conversations, meetings, gossip even. So I want to know, what is the buzz in the break room of the Secret Service, such as it is, right? So we're going to put this card in the middle. We're taking the 2 cards that preceded it and moving those to the left of the birds. And then I still have cards in my hand, so I'm going to pull the 2 cards to the right of it. So the cards for this reading, what's going on with the Secret Service, are the mice, the fish, the birds, that's the card that's in the center, the whip, and the moon. I think this is very interesting. And so let me say what I see. I think that there's a lot of anxiety going on the part of the Secret Service. One of the things I've mentioned that I can do with Lettermont is I can mirror certain cards with certain other cards. And that means I can look at these at two cards together. So in a line of five, there are two pairs that you can mirror. I can mirror this mice card with the last card, which is the moon. It's very clear that what they're anxious about, what they're concerned about, what they're worried about is their reputation. As well, they should be. You know, that whole incident with 45, I really don't think he was shot, but okay. I mean, there was a gun and it was fired and people died. I get all that. I'm not so sure about him being shot in the ear. But anyway, be that as it may, it shouldn't have come that close. You know, there were a lot of mistakes that were made and there was a lot of sloppiness that went on. So they're really, really worried because, you know, from childhood, I don't know how old you are, but you know, I'm of a certain age. It's the Secret Service. Whoa. I mean, they protected the president, right? They put their lives on the line to protect the president and other important protectees. Well, their reputation, not only are they anxious about their reputation, but mice can kind of eat away at things, erode things. So their reputation has been eroded. So that's on their mind. The other two cards that I can mirror in the line are the second card. Here it's fish, and then the fourth card, which is the whip. So what can I say about these two cards together? There is a lot of emotion around this. You know, probably, you know, a lot of blame being thrown around, a lot of just emotion. People, you know, work hard to get into the Secret Service because it's a prestigious organization. So they feel some type of way about the fact that their reputation has been besmirched, we'll call it. And the whip means that there's been some, I would say, probably heated, loud, angry conversations. But the other thing that I want to say about the whip is that the whip is the card for discipline, right? We need to get all of us in this organization on the same page. A protectee is a protectee. Doesn't matter if we don't like them or not. These are the people that we are charged with protecting, and we have to do a better job. So I actually kind of like this line. I think that they're taking the criticisms to heart. I think they are really feeling it, and they want to burnish their reputation, but I don't think in any kind of superficial way. I think that this is kind of like, you know, let's get it together. Let's, you know, get information. Let's do this job the way that the American public expects us to do this job. So I don't think there's anything nefarious here. I mean, there are probably always rogue agents, as they say, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist like that. I think that the organization has been very rattled and they want to get their reputation back. That's what they want. Okay. So thank you for the question. Okay. The next question is comes from Christina, right? Another subscriber. And she says that she's really, really anxious. I'm just shuffling while I talk about the Republicans in Georgia specifically and other states where there are all kinds of efforts to disenfranchise the vote and the voters. I mean, I saw one example in the news myself, which was there was some billboard. This was in Georgia, and the billboard said, if you call this number, your registration will be all taken care of. Well, what would happen is if you call that number, they would then have all your information and then they would scrub you from the voting rolls. That's not good. That's not good. So we know that even if Harris and Walz pull out, a route that they just, as though even if it's a landslide, we know that there will be funny business afoot in the counting of the votes, in the way people are allowed to vote, with how long polling places will be, all kinds of just messed up stuff. So will these Republicans succeed, was her question, in jamming up our presidential election? Now, because these people are up to no good, I'm going to pick a card to represent them, which will indicate that they're up to no good, but possibly and potentially. Because I'm asking, are they up to no good? So the card that I'm looking for, I will hold it up as soon as I find it. It looks like it's deep in the deck, hiding. Well, that makes sense, right? Okay, here it is. The fox. Now, a fox is a wonderful card. It means a lot of things. So for example, just generically, it's the card for job, job. But here, that's not what we're calling it. Here, I am I am imbuing the card with the energy of Republicans in Georgia and elsewhere who would like to see 45 in office again by hook or by crook, by any means necessary. So this will be our center card. And then I'm taking the two cards that preceded it. And then I still have cards in my hand. So I'm taking the one on the top and putting it to the right of the box, and then the next card, putting that to the right of that card. So let's see what our 5 cards are. By the way, a viewer, Fred, when I appreciate it, suggested that I get one of those holders that will hold the cards up. I did get one, I got one, but then I'd have to be tilting my thing up and down, and the cards would show backwards, and then I'd be confused with what was the first card. So I'm just gonna keep doing it the way I do it. Maybe one of these days I'll try the holder, but for now I'm just gonna hold them up. So the first card is the ship. The second card is Clover. The third card is our center card. That's our fox. Fourth card we've seen before. It is birds. And the fifth card we've also seen before in a different context. It's the coffin, right? So I'm going to put these cards down back in order, and we'll go through what this means. Remember the question, will the Republicans in Georgia and other places who are intent on Trump being back in office, we know what they're intending to do. Will they succeed in jamming up our elections? So the ship. The ship means that they absolutely have plans in place. Why do I say that? Because ships move forward. So they've got plans in place. They also think that their plans are good ones and will work. Why do I say that? Because Clover is lucky. They think that their plans are so good and are so multi-layered, because they probably are very multi-layered, that they will get lucky and turn the election 45's way. Remember, in the center, our sneaky fox, birds. Again, this is them meeting and planning and adjusting their plans. If they get thwarted over here, well, then they'll do this over there. They've had 4 years to put a plan in place. So this is the plotters. We'll call them the coup plotters. How about that? But guess what? The last card is the coffin. And the coffin means they hit a dead end. It doesn't work. They get, pardon the pun, boxed in. Now, remember the mirroring that I can do. I can mirror, this is our last card. I can mirror this last card with our first card. So here they are, sailing on the ship of insurrection, sailing on the sea of election theft, and then boom, they get boxed in. It doesn't work. All right. We have clover and we have birds. Now, here's the thing about clover. We all know clover's lucky, right? The thing about clover, though, is also ephemeral. It's brief. It's like Santa Claus comes. Santa Claus doesn't come every day, or you win the lottery. Well, you don't win the lottery every day. And so I suspect that what will happen is even their best laid plans will be short-lived. This is a card for something that is short-lived. And the coffin reminds us that it's short-lived. And we're mirroring that with the birds. So I think that they are going to they're going to fail. And they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and meet and do what Michael Steele called way back in the day when he was head of the Republican Party, do an autopsy. How can we steal the election next time around? Or how can we steal the midterms the next time around? So they will go back to the drawing board and have these conversations. But in terms of our election, and I mean, I will eat my hat if I am wrong. I don't have a hat. You can send me hats. They will not succeed. They will hit a brick wall. They will be boxed in, and they will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Call me Pollyanna. I'm just saying what I see. Okay. So that's the Georgia, et cetera, Republicans. They will try their damnedest. But it's not like the other side is unaware of all their ploys. And also, it's not like they don't advertise in advance what they intend to do. They're very, I don't know, they're self-congratulatory in a sort of a premature show-offy way, and keep doing that because that lets everybody know what your dastardly plans are, and that way they are that much more easily foiled. All right. So thank you for that question, Christina. Hope it puts your mind at ease. Okay, another question was also from E.O. Wingfield, and this was about the trajectory of the court, Supreme Court. And I think that the question is multi-layered. So, let's say a couple of things that we can look at, and we can look at it all together, but, one would be, if states refuse to certify, will the court do a 2000, do what they did in 2000 and hand the election to the Republican? Remember Bush v. Gore? Maybe you weren't around back then, but I was. Will the court interfere? Another thing to look at is, will the court be expanded? Another thing to look at is, will the worst offenders on the court, looking at you, Clarence and Alito, will they be in any way constrained or removed? Now, I'm not going to look at each one of those things. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at the court and see what looks like is coming in for the court. Okay, so I shuffled while I was doing that little preamble. And, because it's one of the three branches, we will give it its due, and I will use an official card for the court. Which is in Lenormand, the Tower. The Tower is the card for governmental entities. And so this time, This stands for the Supreme Court. Putting it in the middle, taking the two cards that preceded in the deck and putting them to the left of it, and then taking the two cards that would follow it and putting those to the right of it. Okay. So interesting cards. And I may draw some clarifiers on one or more of them. So the first card we have is the bouquet. The second card we have is the garden. Third card is in the middle, right? It's the court itself. And then we have the cross. And we have finally the house. So what might this mean? I actually don't think I need to draw any more clarifiers. I think I know what this is about. Okay. A bouquet. A bouquet is one of the happiness cards, kind of the way that the clover that we just saw is one of the happiness cards. But this card is more about an award or a reward. Now, I don't know if this court is deserving of any award or reward, but certainly the American public is in relation to the court. And I'm going to do the mirroring. So I'm going to cut to the chase and then I'll backtrack. The card that I can mirror with this first card, which is the bouquet, is the house. Now, this house represents the White House. I am reading this to mean that the White House is going to do something that will improve the court, make the court the kind of court that the country deserves. That would be the bouquet. Now, which is to say, it can't happen in the next 3 months, but it can absolutely happen in the new administration. And I know that steps are being taken, even as we speak, by Biden to do some things. So I think all's well that ends well here, that the court will be, so to speak, fixed. Now, the second card after the bouquet was the garden. And the first thing that I thought of when I saw the garden made me think that the court will be expanded. There will be more people on it, right? Because this is the card for that, like more people. So I think the court will be expanded. And I think that, normally we don't love the cross. I mean, I get it. As I've said before, it's a religious symbol, but generally speaking in Lenormand, it's a card of pain. I don't see it as either here. I think that the card that the card that I can mirror it with is the second card, the garden. So what might these cards mean together in the context of this question? I think that having more people on the court will mean that the court will no longer be able to engage in self-serving conduct. I think there'll also be a code of ethics. I think that it will be what it's meant to be, which is an organization that is of service. Because this is the card of, for example, altruism, sacrifice. I think the court will be restructured so that its original function is the one that it exercises. So more people on the court will make the court come back to being what it's meant to be, which is in service of the people, not in service of the moneyed interests that it seems to be in the service of now. So I really like this a lot. There are big changes ahead for the court, but these changes will be a gift to the country. I know I do kind of sound like Pollyanna. I'm really not. I mean, ask anybody who knows me. I'm really not. But I'm just telling you what I see. So, the rash of good positive readings may come to an end in a minute. I don't know, but there is one Oh, two more questions I want to look at. Uh, this one, it has to do with Harris. There are astrologers, I'll say, online who, they look at the skies and the skies of particular people, the astrology of particular people. And I have heard more than one say that in the coming weeks, so in like the coming 2 or 3 weeks, something will be lobbed at Harris that will be hard for her to withstand, to the point where she might not even end up staying the Democratic candidate. Now, let me say this about that. Of course, things will be lobbed at her. We got 45 calling her the B word. We've got people saying that uh, she slept her way to the top. Well, what woman at the top has not been accused of that? It's, you know what I mean? It's like, it's old, it's boring, it's dated. It makes you sound dated to say something ignorant like that. Just saying. Um, uh, is there a financial thing that we don't know about that will make her look really bad? I don't know. I don't know. Here's what I do know. If they can find something or they can create something out of whole cloth, they will. So that's the first thing I'll say. The second thing I'll say is that I will remind you that Harris is a Black woman. She has faced the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, to quote Shakespeare, before, many times before. Do you not think she was vetted for the vice presidency? First Black woman vice president? Do you not think that she was vetted? And then the third thing I'll say is she's got backup. I'm Team Harris. I'm a Black woman too. And no weapon formed against her shall prosper. Now, will there be weapons formed against her? Yes, that I don't deny. I'm not saying that astrologically there is no indication. I don't know anything about astrology, so I will take the word of the astrologers that there are weapons being formed against her and that they are clear in the chart. I'm just saying, what does she say? Bring it on. You got something to say? Say it to my face. But let's see what the cards have to say. So I'm going to look for the weapon in the deck. And let's just see what we see. Okay, so I shuffled while I was talking, preaching. And now I'm going to look for the card that I am going to say stands for the weapon. Okay, I mean, how about that for a weapon, right? This stands for the weapons formed against her. Okay. And I'm taking the two cards that precede it, putting them to the left, and then the two cards that will follow the weapon and put them to the right. Okay, let's see what we get. This first card is the card that I added to the deck. This is not part of traditional Lenormand, but I wanted a scale. As I've said before, I think this card has come up when I've read before. And I wanted money on one side and I wanted daisies on the other. One is heavy, one is light. According to the laws of physics, this scale cannot be evenly balanced. But according to the laws of metaphysics, which is what these readings are all about, the scale can be balanced. But it's a process, right? Because it's always going like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. The question is, how do you keep it in some kind of good balance? Second card is the snake. Snakes are problems, but I'll say more about the snake in a minute. Here's our scythe in the middle. Oh, our old friend, the coffin. And then our final card is the child. So let's see what these might mean. In the context of the question, will the weapons invariably, indubitably formed against Harris, will they hit their target? Okay. Well, scales. This is the card for proportionality. In other words, one of the things that it's sort of a magic metaphysical truth is that the thing that you focus on is the thing that grows, right? So you don't want to be unaware of these weapons, but nor do you want to give them your mental and emotional energy to the extent that thoughts become things, because thoughts do become things, right? Everything that you see in the natural world began first as a thought. Whether it's, I don't know, a crystal ball, whether it's a cup of coffee, it began with a thought before it became a thing. Even the rocks that you see, the streams that flow, you could argue that they began as a thought in the mind of the universe, in the mind of higher self, in the mind of God, before they became things. So I think that get thee behind me, Satan. To not focus on this is not a bad thing, because thoughts become things. I can mirror this first card with this last card. Now, the child card is about, making something smaller, perhaps, making these worries smaller proportionately. If these heavy worries are sort of ones that we decrease, and we think instead on hope and the future and the country that we want to be and who our best selves are, well, that's the thing that will grow then. I like seeing the child here, because I just think, again, what we feed grows. Nevertheless, I told you I'm not Pollyanna. The second card is the snake. Snakes are problems. Nobody likes a snake. They slither, for God's sake. They don't even have legs to walk on. It's creepy. They hiss, they rattle, But as I've mentioned again, my snake slithers through mugwort. Mugwort is a feminine herb that is used in divination and in healing. And the reason that I wanted mugwort here is to remind people of another meaning for snake. The other meaning for snake is clever woman. And Harris is nothing if not a clever woman. She sees the incoming before it's come. And just get thee behind me, Satan. So she's a clever woman, and she can take the worries of this and even the reality of it. The fact that there are people out to get her, out to bring her down, throw her off the ticket, whatever it is. And what does she do with them? Puts an end to them, puts them in a box, buries them, gets rid of them. No weapon formed against her shall prosper. I'm just saying. So, the not Pollyanna part is saying there are absolutely weapons formed against her. They will fling whatever they can fling, but she has a force field around her of Black women and everybody else who wants to be part of that force field. She's got her own intrinsic power that she knows how to exercise, and that's spiritual as well as practical. And Bring it. Bring it. Say it to my face. So don't worry about that. Okay. The last question is mine. And I mean, should I be reading on this now? Probably not, because it's not like I haven't read on it before. But I'm going to do it. And the question is, well, in this moment, what does 45's trajectory look like? Now, we've seen over the weekend, he is decompensating, deteriorating, whatever it is. I mean, he sounds crazy. He's been brought low by a lot of things. Now, but ironically, the thing that he seems to be most brought low by are crowd sizes, right? I'll let you read about his rantings about his crowd sizes compared to Harris's crowd sizes, whatever. But he's not doing well. And I have seen before that he would not do well. And so I'm just going to look and see how's our guy doing? Well, not our guy. How's he doing? How's 45 doing? And I'm asking the question, you know what? I'm going to use the card for health, because health is multi-layered, right? Mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. How's he doing? So I'm just going to flip the cards till I get to the card that represents health in all its forms. Mental, emotional, spiritual, physical health. And what does that mean? When we find the card, what are the consequences of what we see? So this is the tree. The tree is the Lenormand card for health in all forms. I'm going to put that in the middle. Taking the two cards that precede it and moving those to the left. Still have cards in my hand, so just off the top, taking the next one and putting it to the right, and then the next one and putting that to the right. So I have 5 cards. All right, and the cards are the fox again, clover again. Remember that our tree is in the middle, the book, and then my scales card pops up. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to put them back in order and look at them. Now, here's what I want to say. If you recall before, I told you that the fox, just like every other Lenormand card, has multiple meanings. The fox this time specifically refers to medical experts, right? I told you this is the card for job. I told you this is the card for shady behavior. It's the card for the foreigner. It's a card for a lot of things, but it's also the card for medical specialists, because it's the card for the detective, right? A fox will ferret information out. I think that there are medical professionals looking at the question of Trump's health. And when I say health, again, health writ large, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical health. The card that I can mirror this first card with, this fox with, is the last card, and it's the scales. I think that there is currently an assessment being done as to whether he can, will, should, ought to stay the course, meaning stay on the ticket. And I don't think these are just medical professionals, by the way. I think these are also party people, the people who actually run the party. I think they're They're doing an assessment, an analysis. You know, is he doing us more harm than good? Is he still our useful idiot? Or has he become more idiot than useful, such that we might want to find a way to show him an exit ramp meaning from the race. So I think this is a question that we are not only assessing. I think that experts, both political experts and medical experts, are assessing even as we speak. Okay. Second card, the one after the fox, is Clover. And while we like Clover as a rule, right? It's luck. That's great. Santa Claus, the lottery. That's true. But it's also a timing card. I think that the decompensation and the kind of the descent into God knows what that's going on right now means that this question is a timely one, and that decisions need to be made by these experts tout à l'heure, as they say in French, like right now, like decisions need to be made fast. Now, the card that I can mirror this with is the fourth card. And of course, wouldn't you know, it's the book. So I feel like even though they know that they need to do this quickly, these assessments need to be made quickly so that they know what to do about this guy in regard to what his health is showing us, is presenting, right? The symptoms and stuff that's presenting. They don't know yet what to do. Even though you and I know that books hold information, in Lenormand, the book tells us there's still things hidden. There's things that we don't know. And speaking of hidden, I suspect that whatever story is come up with as to why 45 has exited stage left, it won't be the truth. You know, so I mean, the fact will be that he will exit, but I think a story will be made up around this. And I said this, I feel like, in my last video. You know, he'll get Doc Ronnie or whatever, whoever it is, to write him a note excusing him. I think he'll be also paid off. And I don't think they won't announce that in the newspapers. We won't be privy to that, the details of that. But I think it's all being worked out. The point being, it's got to be worked out fast, because every day he gets worse and worse and worse. Okay. So I think that this video has been long enough. Another day, I will look at things like Vance. Will he be elevated or will he be booted? And we'll have two whole different people on the Republican ticket. I don't know, but we'll look at that another time, a little bit closer to the main events, shall we say. But thank you for listening this long if you've done that. I really would love it if you'd subscribe and hit like and share this video. I'm hoping you're learning a little bit about Lenormand and that you come to be as intrigued by these cards as I am. And I'll see you in my next video.